So do you want to just go back and forth with the questions? You're going to do the whole intro?
Sure.
You're going to do 5 business boss. You're going to go, I'm Dr. King, and I'll go, I'm Richie King, and then we'll, go from there.
And then do you want to do Sandy's bio stuff?
I can.
That usually does do the bio stuff. So
Okay.
just read what's on the page.
I'm going to read what's on the paper.
And what am I doing? Just fire at me and I'm just answering questions?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Just,
No, it's
tell me
It's
how
more
this is gonna go.
conversation.
It's
It's
more
more
just
just
a conversation.
conversation.
Okay.
Like I
We
was
use the
saying,
questions just to generate conversation.
Yeah,
really,
right.
I mean,
the main theme is just your career in real estate, why you chose it, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's just
great.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah. Basically, it's just chat session.
I think it'd be great.
It'll
Yeah.
be fun.
So
We go about
already-
45 minutes.
Okay.
Right.
We've already been chatting, so.
there you go. He's really bad about that. He starts chatting and then uses up all podcast material. I'm like, stop talking. You're talking too much.
Before the podcast, right?
Yes.
Oh, we were
He'll
just
try
warming
and
up.
talk to me, and I'll be like, "Shut! I'm not talking about
I don't want to
anything."
get people with business backgrounds much. Though.
Yeah, I didn't study the Big Five very much. I gave you all I got on that.
Right. We talked
Okay,
about Anderson
we already Anderson.
okay.
stuff. And when I was at Pricewaterhouse and stuff like that.
Okay.
Now we have them all covered with Tim. We brought Tim in the room.
Then we.
I know, right? Who did he work for?
Vallejo Financial.
Okay, got it.
Jack, can you say your name for me?
Richard King.
Whoa! Dad, want me to say your name?
Emily.
All right. Make sure to talk into the microphone.
How else would I talk?
Into the microphone.
Is that good right there?
Harrison gets his
It's close.
director.
I'm telling you.
We need better mics, dude. It's
This sounds perfect. I fixed
Okay.
it today so you can yell at the microphone without it
okay.
speaking.
Got it.
Oh, good. We can yell.
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't get yelled at.
I have the special mic. I think I can do whatever I want. Oh, gosh. I must have the best mic.
Yes, you do.
You guys have to be more fine-tuned.
Oh gosh.
They make these mics that look similar to like his red mic over there that Harrison has, and you can use in any direction. I mean, it's like they're expensive though.
Harrison, Madeline's gonna like the pillows. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Five Boys in a Business, episode 26. We are back, and we are here today for our podcast with, I'm going to mess it up.
You already have. Go ahead, though.
The second part. We always mess up the beginning. It's kind of now become a tradition.
All right.
Okay. So you can check us out on all the podcast channels, Spotify, iTunes, iTunes. Let's see, what else?
YouTube,
Facebook,
Google Podcasts,
and Facebook. So our podcast is a podcast where we talk about our business, our family, and the many shenanigans involved. You can catch it live on Facebook on Mondays around 10:30 is usually when we shoot. And also be sure to check out the merch store at aspcmerch.com. I'm wearing one of the shirts today. I can't see it, Harrison, because the thingy bobbies.
There you go.
It's this arm there. They've got the logo on it. They're really super soft. Also, we have new onesies. Have you shown everybody the onesies, Harrison? Onesies that are so cool that say, I'm the non-fur baby. That you can put on your little child. Throw them up there. And then we've got some socks and also hats. So,
You are?
Yeah. So
You are?
yes, I'm sorry. I'm Dr. King.
And I'm Richie King.
And we've got Sandy Ginn here with us today.
And a little bit more about Sandy. Sandy grew up in Toledo, Ohio, graduated from Ottawa Hills High School. She went on to graduate from Kelly School of Business with a degree in accounting and earned her CPA license. She worked in auditing and consulting at KPMG and Ernst & Young for many years, along with being a founding member of V4 Consulting, started and built in Cincinnati. She's been active in the Carmel community for 20-plus years and has served as a volunteer and or fundraiser for multiple organizations. She has been a PTO president. She's worked with Carmel Dads Club and many more. She has 3 children and 2 pets, Snickers, an English Springer Spaniel, and Twix, a cockapoo. A few of her favorite hobbies are being on the lake, playing golf, snow skiing, and watching any and all sports. Welcome, Sandy.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Sandy, we know you just from way back in the day when Max was, because Max and Trevor are the same age, right? So then it went back, gosh, how many years has that been now?
Was it
13 years?
Early childhood development?
Yeah, early childhood development. Cherry Tree.
At least.
Was that Cherry Tree, right? Was it at Cherry Tree?
Cherry Tree or
Mohawk.
Mohawk, but I remember going to Trevor's birthday party with Max.
Yeah, do you remember that at the house? And then they all had to dress up and everything.
Oh, was that the Halloween party?
Yes, it was the
Oh,
Halloween
okay,
party.
yeah.
Yeah, we hung stuff from the, I don't know, we made it like
We
crazy.
still had smoke in the house, and
Yeah,
it's
it
like
was-
foggy. What's going on?
Every kid has at least one of those parties where you actually throw a party. I think that
Right.
was Trevor's. And then
Wasn't he a vampire?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he might have been.
I don't remember. But yeah, so, and then you've been coming to the clinic, for all of these years with multiple pets throughout the years. So, which we really appreciate. So we've gotten to know you over time. And now with us having the podcast and you kind of moving on to another direction in your career, we thought it'd be really cool to have you on to visit.
Excited to be here.
So, yeah.
So, yeah. So your new career, your background is very heavy business, consulting, financial consulting, I'm assuming, or yeah.
Yes.
That kind of, okay. So I mean, what was it that prompted you to make that shift from, or maybe give us a little bit of backstory, the shift from heavy business background consulting to becoming a real estate agent?
It's really kind of interesting. I entered a new season in life, as we know, from preschool now into college.
Yeah.
Looking for that next season and what did that look like. And in looking back at the different experiences I had, very heavy business, starting my own business, being in consulting, which was an interesting type of industry, with client service, with solving problems and implementing solutions, and then combining that with being in the community, being in the trenches of the community, from the schools, from the not-for-profits, from the different events. I was kind of looking for that next thing.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, it took some time.
Yeah.
Took some time. I looked at my strengths. I worked with coaches and threw a lot of stuff against the wall. And I was like, what is that next thing? When's it going to come to me? Finally, after going through some of those sessions and sitting down with one of my best friends from college, he is one of the top realtors in the state of Indiana, works the Muncie market, said, it's sitting right in front of you. This is exactly what you need to do.
Right.
And with a little nudge out of the nest, I went and did it and put one foot in front of the other. Met some great people along the way, Steve, one of them, and then met some people at Century 21 that have been amazing mentors and friends and helping me kind of go along this track. And it really was the right thing, because as you go through different seasons in life, real estate really was just the next chapter to build upon the experiences I have. And I really bring a kind of a unique perspective, both from life experiences and from being in the business world to help clients. And when I left the consulting arena, I liked consulting. I liked being successful, and certainly you weren't successful unless you brought value.
Right.
That, you know, I mean, I went through many value statements and selling the value we brought. But what you didn't have in that business world was the touch with the people. And I feel like after I'd gone through a lot of the experience I've had with the community, what I was missing with was really walking alongside with people and seeing them succeed. And, you know, perspective is everything. And when you want something different in this season, I love business. I love building a business. But at the end of the day, if my people win, that's what it's about.
Right.
And that's what I do. That's what keeps me up at night. That's what gets me up in the morning, is really having those new experiences with people.
So is there something that you brought forward, like can you think of one or two particular characteristics or experiences or skill sets that you brought forward with you, like that are the most valuable, do you think, in this new chapter?
So many. Okay, I think the one skill, I think there's two. The one skill is talking to people and understanding them and what they need. And recognizing that they may not know what they need when they start talking to you. And kind of uncovering and asking the right questions. I just had a relocation client, and they thought for certain they wanted a certain area, a certain lifestyle, and we went for it, right? And as we got to know each other and we went through the process, we uncovered that, wait, this doesn't make sense for you. We're kind of looking in the wrong place.
Right.
And being able to have that skill set to ask the questions, to understand what they're looking for, and to kind of guide them to where they need to go when they really don't know where to go. That comes from all that consulting and the business world. So that, I think, is probably one of the skill sets. The other piece is the project management, or driving the project home. So many people think real estate is, a pretty floor plan, let's go look at a couple houses and it gets done. And I think Harrison will tell you the real work comes after the purchase agreement and getting to close. And having someone that understands how those pieces fit together. What does the financing look like? What does inspection look like? How do we incorporate title into all this and bring all the parties to the table and get the job done? Now, certainly in consulting, we did that every day. And we brought people back in consulting together that didn't want to be there and had to find a way to get the job done and get them to buy in. So I think those skills tremendous, uncovering that what you developed in that experience is so essential in this experience.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I would think that'd be really, negotiating would be like, I think you would learn a lot about, one, how to motivate people, you know what I mean? And get them to buy in, so I think that would be, it has to be a huge help.
It's a great help. And sometimes it's, when you negotiate, it's just looking at people and like, well, what's the solution? You want to sell? We want to buy? What's the solution? Let's get it on the table. And sometimes that's all to get the other party to start working with you. Because if you want to spend time worrying about a glass grill and not see the big picture, you can. You really can't. But it's kind of driving that process forward and keeping the big picture in place to get to a solution. And sometimes, it doesn't go well, and you have to redo or revisit the approach and process to get to the right answer.
Right. Yeah. What do you think was the biggest when you were moving from one thing into this next phase, what was the biggest thing that was keeping you from making the decision to do it? Like, what was the biggest fear?
I think with anything, it's putting yourself out there, just like starting your clinic,
Right.
and believing that you can do it and do it in a way that's better and different. And let me tell you something. That's when you enter, that's what you think about. When you're there, it is so fun
Yeah.
Right.
because you can, and you do. And these different seasons, I mean, I wouldn't trade either one of them to be where I am today. And I wouldn't be a top agent without those experiences I've already had.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I remember the first time I talked with you, I remember sensing a inner confidence, which is good. You know, you're like, you know this, you know what you're talking about. You know, let's get this people to the table and let's see what they want, which is good because oftentimes you deal with brokers, and you don't sense that. You don't almost a hesitancy. You know what I mean? That we can get these things done. We can get what you want. So I think to the extent that those experiences fed that confidence that you can get to a mutually beneficial solution. That's something that I noticed when we first met. You know what I mean? When we've actually at the house, right? Was it? Well, no, it was at the house, the La Canada house.
Okay, now.
That's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
When I was standing in the backyard
Yeah.
with the septic inspector.
So that's I think it's interesting, and that's one of the things that's nice about people that do have those previous experiences. Is you do have that confidence level in that those life experiences to kind of help you feed into what's currently in front of you. So.
And I think, too, one of the things in real estate is I may do this 50 times a year.
Right.
But you can never forget that your client is only going to do it 2 to 4 times in their lifetime.
Right.
Right.
And you can't ever forget where they're coming from
Yeah.
and what they need from you, and that being a trusted advisor and helping them facilitate the process.
Right. It's a very, very personal. It's unlike, kind of feeds into some of the questions that I was talking about, technology and how it might feed into it. You know, you buy a stock or something, that's easy to use an app or something for, but when you buy a home, I mean, you have to live in the home. You're going to raise kids in the home, maybe. You're going to have life experiences that you remember for the rest of your life in that home. So it needs to be right. I mean, it's a big decision.
Right.
So.
I remember saying to Harrison, I said, Harrison, do you want to buy a septic system or do you want to buy a minivan?
Right.
That is the case. Yes.
That's a joke question, but it's a real question.
But it is a real question. Exactly.
So.
And I said, I want you to have the minivan.
Yes. Yeah. You don't need to be buying.
As do your kids. You don't want to cram all in the back of a Ford Taurus. Trust me.
The
Been
Ford
there.
Taurus. Yes. Exactly.
Expect the unexpected.
Oh my gosh. I think that you brought up a good point with the it being the one experience. Like, you know, you're doing it 100 times. It's their one experience. That's something that we talk about in our industry as well, because, you know, whether somebody's coming through the door and it's 8 a.m. or it's 5 p.m., that the experience should be the same, whether, you know, you've said it 30 times or whether you're saying it for the first time, or, you know, even more, I think it can be felt even more so on the side of like surgery. Like, you know, like that's something very routine for us. We do it all the time. We're not concerned about it. We know the risks. We know how to minimize the risks. I mean, you know, we're not concerned unless we're concerned. But yet someone else who comes in is really concerned, you know, and you can really poo-poo those feelings if you're not careful, you know, which then doesn't go towards furthering the relationship or helping people get through the experience. You know, if you're not careful, then you can minimize their feelings and, you know, not understand the gravity because it's their only time. It's the one time that they're having something happen.
Right.
And so I think that it's so important to get that or to understand that, you know, that is the one time that they're doing it, or like you mentioned, like 2 to 4 times over their lifespan, this is what they're going to be doing, you know.
It's that consistency. Like I talk about Chick-fil-A a lot, but it's that consistency of experience and value add of the product and service that you experience. I mean, it's a big deal. It's my pleasure every time, no matter who it is, when it is, how busy they are, no matter what. Your chicken sandwich tastes the same as it does in Ohio versus California, and you get the same service level, hopefully. And that's what brings you back. I mean, is that consistency, no matter what happens.
I agree, and it's the client, and I always say this to my kids and the people I work with is they want to feel like they're your only client.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They, you know,
Yeah.
the fact that you did 8 surgeries that day,
It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, it's they want to feel like they are the only client and that you're paying attention to their needs, because really in their world, that's all that matters.
That's all
Right.
that matters. That's their reality.
perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's key.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that when you do, it ends up you're servicing yourself by doing so anyway, because you have a better work experience as well. You know what I mean? And if you do handle those situations with that demeanor, then the experience means more for you, but then you have better outcomes. I mean, it's all around. It's better. It's better for everybody, you know, not to just go through motions and whatnot. But there's so many people that, regardless of the industry, that's how they live their life, you know, in those moments, you know, and not taking the time to engage people or to talk to people or to build relationships, which I think leads to some of the emptiness, you know what I mean, associated with those other industries.
Do you think that's the dividing line between success and failure sometimes? I mean, those small things that cumulatively add up. You know, I mean, people say, oh, I had a long day, you know, or I did whatever I did, you know. But because the people that don't use that as an excuse, that continue to drive that high level of service, are the ones, you know, that separate themselves from those that don't.
I do. I mean, we can use your clinic as an example. From day one, when it was just Emily, there's an energy here, and you could feel every time you walk in the door here that there's a desire to do things for greatness, to do things the right way. And I think when I started my business as well, I looked to you all and how you've built your business and been around, and how you go about doing things every day. When you interact with people like that, you can see and touch and feel that. And I think people ultimately gravitate to that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's funny because we say that good companies bring good people.
Yeah.
Like they just naturally find you, you know what I mean? Or, you know, the clients naturally, like the people want to be in those experiences.
Positive.
And so
Yeah.
that they find each other. So the good employees find the good places to work, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds on itself. It doesn't come without constant vigilance, but it does evolve into, I don't know, it's a greater force that's pulling all that together.
It's like success begets success. I
Yeah.
mean, that's too strong, but it's kind of like that. I mean, you attract the best people. I've always said that again about Chick-fil-A. I'm, you know, a big fanboy, but they, for whatever reason, they just are able to attract and retain a like type of employee. I don't know how they do it, but boy, they do it. I mean, and I think you could use that as a lesson for a lot of places, you know, to how do you attract and get that energy like you talk about, you know, there. So, and that chase, and I think that's what's driven us for so many years, is that constant chase to be better and greater. There's always, I mean, when you stop chasing, you kind of die. I mean, I think you start to that not downward, but that flat line. I mean, I think that's what drives me all the time, to continually learn, to continually chase, to be better. I mean, it's driven us since day one, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talk as the doctors, the group of doctors, you know, and the continual quest to be great. You know, like I don't want somebody to be better than us.
Right.
Collectively as a group, not necessarily me. They're way better. They currently the 5 of them are way better than me. But I mean, like collectively as a group, you know, there is no better place to work. There is no better place to bring your animal. There is no better place for us to be able to help you, you know, when you need help. And so that continual, because I think if you're not looking to be that, then I agree. You die. You just, I don't get.
You may survive, but I don't think you thrive. And I think that's what has driven us for so long. Is like you want to continually be chasing a better value add for the client, a better client experience, to separate yourself from everybody else. So, and I steal concepts from other companies. I mean, like I talk about Chick-fil-A a lot, or if I have a retail or a client service experience that I really enjoy somewhere, I'll try and take that back and go, oh, I really like this. How can we use this component, whatever, in our business? So
what is for real estate agents, how do you guys transform your business? Like, you know what I mean? Like from, like, how do you start to where, like, what are your, like, where do you want to be? You know what I mean? Like, what are some of your objectives over time? You know, do you use metrics? Do you use, you know, like, how do you guys,
like success metrics?
yeah, like how do you measure your, Or do you have goals that you set in mind, like, those kinds of
Are
things?
or are they individual? I guess. Go ahead.
There's both. There's individual goals. There's brokerage goals. I work for top Century 21 is a top brokerage here in town. They have goals in the current marketplace to be leading. They have goals nationally, and let me tell you, globally, Century 21's in 80 countries with over 125,000 agents.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're leading the way, innovating, continually doing things for us to be successful in the marketplace. As far as me individually, I want to be that sought-out, trusted advisor.
Right.
I want to be the one people are looking for. I want to work with the clients that value that experience. What do those clients look like? They look like all different kinds of clients. They look like new home buyers, which would be puppies to you, right?
Right.
It would be the puppy. It would be the downsizer. It would be someone stepping up into the dream home. And then sometimes people in the marketplace not in those great situations, which you have in medicine as well, whether it's either a family event, a divorce, or death, where they're liquidating an asset. So I want to be that advisor in all those situations. And I feel because of my experiences, I can walk with those clients wherever they are at that point in time and understand the different needs they have in the process.
Right.
So that's a little bit of how you build the clientele. There are metrics. I think in real estate, again, the focus needs to be more from an industry perspective on the client. You see a lot of marketing on the realtor themselves. And I think if anything in the industry, what we're missing is really wrapping the experience around the client and servicing them. Some of the other things I've seen, everyone always says is, Sandy, what are you specializing in?
Right.
What are you specializing in? I'm like, what am I specializing in? And I look at it and go, I specialize in you. And they're like, what? I go, I specialize in you.
Right.
I specialize you where you are and what you need. And I think a lot of times in this industry, people carve out boxes and they say, I know this area, or I know this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, I'm an expert in
this.
Blah, blah, blah. Like,
and so I seek my clients for who they are, and it's my job to have the knowledge and experience to get them to where they need to go. It does them no service or no value if I say, hey, come be my client, but you need to fit in my box.
Right.
Because it's all about getting in their box
Right.
and giving them what they need.
Right.
And I think in this type of industry, sometimes we miss that. And I know we'll talk about disruptors and things later in the marketplace. We need to begin to think that way and think about how we get on their team versus trying to get them on our team.
right.
And when you do that and they feel that,
Right.
it's not so much about the metrics. You're successful, people gravitate to you. And just like this clinic and how it's been successful is when you put the right things in place,
Right.
success is the back end of it.
Right.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
And if you continue not to take your eye off the ball like we talked about, it just continues to grow and grow. And you have to be smart enough to put the teams and the people in place to continue to drive that message and that business process and experience.
Right. It's interesting.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we have a few comments.
Sure.
Okay.
One is from Arika Gunn saying, way to go, Sandy. And then the other one is from Madeline saying, hi, Sandy.
Okay.
Wow.
There we go.
Those are
Excellent.
two of my favorite people.
It's interesting you mentioned that, though, because I do think that is kind of a microcosm of almost like a paradigm shift that's happening in many other industries where you say, years ago it was very, you have to do this, or this, whereas now there's so much competition with technology and everything else. Everybody's so interconnected. You do have to kind of, like you say, be on their team, and I want to satisfy your needs and build the business that way, because if you satisfy them, then they'll refer, whatever, they have a good experience. And I think it's very incremental, but to your point about success being on the back end, that success is over time, to build that book up and that refer, that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Cachet is too big of a word, but kind of that halo effect almost of client satisfaction that leads to that success over time. So I think it's fascinating. I was thinking as you were talking too about information and what the value add behind so many people is the information they bring to the table. If someone says, I'm in this, I want to do this, whatever the situation is, oh, well, you're probably looking here then. If this is what you're looking for, you probably don't want to go here you want to go here. This is a hot, whatever, this is really up and coming, whatever. That information, is you could probably get it over time, but it's great to go to one central resource and say this person that's an expert in that particular area or county or whatever. So.
Yeah, I think that it was interesting watching you work with Harrison and Madeline.
Oh yeah.
Because and we tried to really keep our hands out of any of it, because why are you laughing? We did not give you any advice.
I was very impressed because I remember thinking because the advice you were giving them, I was like, that's good advice.
Yep.
You're not trying to turn and burn.
To speak to your point of getting in the person's box with them, you had to go from everything that you know so much just from life experience and business and like everything, kind of like what you were talking about with the septic tank, talking to people who know nothing because of no life experience.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way, Harrison. I'm just saying basically you know nothing. Okay.
Basically.
And so about buying a house. It's their first experience.
Never done it before. Right.
But to be able to reach them and to make them feel like it's not that they don't know anything. It's that these are all the things that you can learn. And here's how we're going to go about this. And here's how I can help you learn about this. It wasn't like, well, you're not doing that because that's just not the way you do it. Like the way you coached them through the entire experience was huge. It was great. And they learned a lot about the whole experience. One, about each other. They learned a lot about each other and going through the machinations of, a big decision together, and Richie and I trying to stay out, not saying anything because that was a great experience for the two of them to go through that thing and make those decisions together and have those disagreements and have to figure out where is the balancing line, but I think you were phenomenal with them because of your experiences as a mom, as a businesswoman, as, a real estate agent, all of that put together, you helped them get where they needed to go. And so that was huge. And so, and shoot, if you can do it with Harrison, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Now, I can see where for a lot of people, it would be hard to get in their box.
Right.
I'll tell you, in that situation, first of all, those two complement each other very well, which makes me very excited for their next season of life.
Right.
Because to watch them make decisions,
right.
Obviously Harrison's a planner. He's practical.
Right.
And, Madeline's like, she's the dreamer and she's so excited and positive in life. And they work really well together.
Right.
In that situation, unfortunately, some people would have pushed that deal through.
Right.
And some people wouldn't have gone through kind of the analysis we did on that septic tank. And, and understanding the techie side of things, when you walk in a house and people haven't lived there and the septic tank hasn't been used, and some inspectors put a little dye in and we flush it. Oh, it's fine. Let's get the deal done. Well, no, let's map the system out. Let's make sure it works. Oh, gosh, there's a permanent structure over the septic system. There's tree roots in it. And
not good.
Not good. Buyer beware. Buyer beware. That's the technical side of the job that you do have to provide and put it on the table saying, wow, today this is not good. Mm-hmm. But tomorrow I want you in a better place.
Right.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
But we are. We are. And now look at where we are.
And,
and in what 3 weeks, Harrison? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to be a homeowner.
You're going to be a homeowner. But I just think, a lot of people wouldn't have taken time to put themselves in their box, in the kids' box. Because they're young and they're like, and so, just not poo-pooing that, like what we talked about, that experience, that taught them a lot about a lot of different things, and taking the time to do that was beneficial, just like it would be if, it was 50-year-olds or, what I mean? I think you're onto something very big there from the standpoint of changing or shifting the way people think about that experience. I think you're onto something big in that regard, from the standpoint of switching that instead of getting in my box, let me get in your box. I think that's huge. I think that is going to be huge.
And it's going to be where you have to go in the industry.
Yeah.
I agree.
Particularly with the millennials and how information is.
What disruptors do you see? That's always a question Richie has about different industries. What do you see as some things that could be challenging for typical brokers?
Okay. So there's always disruptors,
Right.
right? So if you look back into 1970s, do you know who the major disruptor was in real estate?
In the 70s?
1970s and 80s.
70s and 80s.
Hold on, let me think.
70s and 80s. The
Well,
price of loans?
No,
I
no.
don't know.
Well, that was. I mean, because rates were so high. But
Yeah.
I think I don't know. Was it? Have the big companies always been around, like the ERAs and Coldwells and?
No.
Okay, so those I don't know. Those are the disruptors, like the advent of. I know Century 21. I remember everybody knew the gold jacket.
The gold jacket.
Everybody
When I
knew.
was growing up, the gold jacket was it.
In fact, it
it?
showed up in movies. You remember the movie War Games? And
Yeah.
The mother had on a gold jacket, and even as I could watch, I have no idea who she worked for. It was like the Century 21.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh, that's so funny. The gold jacket.
So Century 21 was a disruptor in the 70s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So what 50 years later, they're leading the industry.
Yeah.
So there are going to be disruptors in the marketplace. Century 21 said, we're going to make real estate like McDonald's, and we're going to franchise this. And everyone's like, that's crazy. This is a local experience. This is crazy. Well, they came in and they innovated, they evolved, and we talked about that into a global brand
Right.
with all these agents. So the disruptor's always there. The big disruptor now is technology. Zillow is one
Right.
of them.
Right.
And what does that mean, and what does that look like? It means that the real estate agent was the guardian of information.
Right.
So when my mother-in-law was a realtor in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, like they had the information, they had the listings. That wasn't widely available to the marketplace. Well, it is now.
Right.
So if you approach business as I'm just going to give you information, I'm going to turn and burn.
Right.
You're not going to do business in a marketplace, particularly when it becomes competitive. Right now, the market's good, so a lot of people can compete and be successful. But
Right.
but the real challenge comes when it gets a little tighter.
Right.
So we no longer have that information to ourselves. So we now have to work alongside that and help them and use that information. And now a lot of good things come out of it. One, I'm not taking Harrison and Madeline to 20 houses in a weekend.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We can, from a click, Madeline's going to tell us. No way. We're not even going,
Right.
So we are much more efficient with our time. We have a much more educated buyer. Millennials love information. So they like the analysis. They like to do the research. So we have to work with them with the information they have to help them make a decision. So that would be on the buying side. Okay. On the selling side, we have to know how people are going to perceive and look at our listings. So it is very important, and you go into what Harrison does, to have that online presence.
Right.
And knowing that people are going to make a decision, one, immediately when it goes on the market, and based on how you present it online. So photography and online presence is extremely important. Okay. So those are the things that are readily available to the consumer, and they're going to make the decisions with or without you. And it goes back to get in your box. Finally, how do you do that? The trusted advisor, there's still surveys out there that because of the stressful emotional process, we want someone to walk hand in hand with us through the process.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So to succeed in the business, and it kind of goes with the theme of what we're talking about, is you have to have that relationship and walk them through the process.
Right.
And I would say too, you have to be with these disruptors. I go back to being at Century 21, working with a brokerage, with a group of people that are continuing to innovate, continuing to think, and position yourselves in the marketplace so that you can continually work within an ever-changing industry. And every industry changes.
Sure.
It's just being aligned with the people that are willing to work through the change and position yourself continually. And I think over the last 50 years, Century 21's done that
That's
very
awesome.
successfully. And I think that's why it's important to have that brand behind you.
Right. That's interesting. It's so fascinating you mentioned that too, because I think that technology, even though we talk about it from a disruptor standpoint, I do think it can be an ally too, to the extent that you talk about it can streamline the process, to the extent that you can put that experience online such that you can say, here's 20, but I like these 3. Because I can kind of quasi-experience this without actually going and seeing it. I like this, I don't like that. So let's, it makes their time more valuable, makes your time more valuable. It's interesting. And I do think, unlike, say, other disruptors like, say, the Carvanas or Where, I mean, a car purchase is what it is. You spend a couple hours in your car a day. It is, you get rid of it after 5 years. You could be in a house for the rest of your life.
Right.
And I think that's the distinction when I think of disruptors and how tech can be an ultimate disruptor within an industry. I think that's the big distinction, is that's an appreciable asset that you're going to keep for a long time. You're going to sleep there. You spend a lot more hours in there than you are in your car generally. So that's the difference I can see. And those kind of two large asset classes in terms of purchases that you make.
Agree.
So.
Agree.
What are some of the challenges that you have faced becoming a real estate agent, do you feel like, or that you do on a daily basis? What are some of the bigger things that you feel like you have to navigate or manage?
We talked about service approach, the differences kind of in the marketing where I've been more of the client service and getting in my client's head and box. The other thing for me is balance. Mm-hmm. Realtors people want to think they're your only client.
Yeah.
Transactions happen when they happen. Mm-hmm. And being available and being available and thinking through it. And, Saturday night Max was playing hockey and we had to get a deal done.
Right.
And taking the time to think through it. Yes, we're there. Yes, you need to sign it, and being available for the people. I think balance for me looks a little bit different than my kids. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to Marley Ginn about what it's been like.
Right.
With Sandy being a realtor.
That's hilarious. Oh
my
gosh.
Right.
She's ready for you to quit.
Yeah, she's got a different take.
Right.
She's
So funny.
the baby she's used to.
Yeah, mom's here, mom's there, mom's where I need mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's been a change. And then, just getting back out there, and I love working with people. And I think you use Chick-fil-A as an example. Mm-hmm. They're really successful, right?
Oh, yeah.
They've been throwing lots of arrows too.
Lately,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
And anytime you're driving a train and you have a desire to be excellent, you have to keep your head down and focus on what those things are that are going to make you great.
Right.
And whether it's in real estate, whether it's in financial services, whatever you're doing, sports, right? You just need to keep plug along and believe in what you are about. Do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons.
Right.
And you can get distracted along the way. And I just, again, it's a great season for me because that maturity really just keeps you pushed forward for the right reasons.
Right.
So now, where are all the kids now? Like, what's up with them?
What's up with them? Nick is a junior in college down at High Point University in North Carolina.
Okay.
Mr. Max is at Carmel High School, finishing out senior year. 90% we think Miami University.
Okay.
We think.
In Florida?
No.
Oh, Ohio. That's probably a good choice. Go ahead.
No, not Miami Beach. And Marley is a junior. So I have a senior and a junior, and she is looking. She's the one that's looking at medicine. So I don't know where she's gonna land, but she's pretty focused on that.
That's cool.
So
How did Nick end up at High Point, and like what? Why was that on his radar?
High Point is an interesting school. It's kind of exciting from a real estate perspective because they've taken this old furniture town, and they have a very dynamic president at this college that's redone the school and redone this community. He's big into communications and life skills, and Nick went to Brebeuf, and they came to visit Brebeuf. We went down there, and we just really liked what the school was about. And this president teaches the freshmen, and he teaches the seniors.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's just one of those smaller schools that it's the experience. And college, and this is kind of an interesting, pairing it back to real estate, you always say to your kids, like, you're just going to know.
Right.
He just kind of knew. And it's just like with a house too, right? You're just going to know. Like, I can't tell you, but you're going to, if it's not talking to you, you're just going to know.
Right.
And he just knew. And that was the right place for him. And it's a great area of the country too. I love.
What part of North Carolina?
High Point is in between Raleigh and Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
And the Triangle, you go east from there, from a developing area in the country, the Triangle the Research Triangle down in North Carolina. Lots of young people, lots of growth.
What's he studying there?
He's in sports management.
Oh, okay.
He dreams to work in the NBA, and let me tell you, he understands it. He wants to scout.
Oh,
that's
cool.
And
fun.
my dreams for my kids are go do it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because he's really good at it.
Yeah.
Now his question for you would be sugar glider or chinchilla.
Oh no, sugar glider. I don't know.
Holden would say sugar gliders.
And where does he get his sugar glider?
We ordered sugar gliders, and you really want a pair, Nick. You want two, so don't get just one. And
Does he have two? He only has two, right?
Holden has two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want multiples because they don't like to live solitarily. They don't like to live by themselves. And so I think sugar gliders, just from a like handling standpoint, they're just more like if you're looking for somebody you can. This is not the right word because he's a guy. Snuggle with and hang out with.
Yeah, but if you're talking about Holden, it applies.
If you're talking about Holden, it applies.
He takes great pride in bringing them out in his pouch of his hoodie.
So it is I mean, I think watching Holden with the sugar gliders, I would think that if you're looking for a pet, if you want that kind of like interactive, piece of it, then sugar gliders. And some people will be like, well, they're nocturnal. Yeah, but not really. Like, so.
Yeah, but they kind of are.
But they're not. I mean, they
do
make
bark
some
at him
noise
all
at night and stuff. But they're out with him during the day and everything.
Right.
But anyway, back to your original question. I'll have to get you the link where we bought them because we actually did a
ship
lot
them
of
in.
research. Yeah, we bought them from a USDA approved like breeder, which I think was Texas, and they flew them in. They flew the pair in.
It's not.
And they weren't It wasn't like horribly expensive by any means. It was like part of the price or whatever. And then you went to the airport and picked them up at like the separate place or whatever. But
Which must happen a lot because when we went to show up to pick them up, they're like, "Oh, these places. I mean, people ship these all the time." And then they get
and then
there.
it's really just about nutrition, making sure that.
And even that's
we
not
went
too difficult.
because we went to a. I joined this association of veterinary sugar gliders now. And so we use a particular food recommended by them, and they're doing awesome, and they're really easy to take care of. So
they're very cute too, and they're very
their cage is probably bigger than like a chinchilla, because you're going to need more space than a chinchilla. But
they do walk around, and they're cute. I mean, they jump around the cage, and
yeah, they're very
unique
cool.
looking,
Yeah.
really cool.
So I would go just from an interacting standpoint. I think you'd have more fun with a sugar glider.
That's good.
But forewarning, the noise that they make when they get scared sounds like the devil. So
Well, it does. It sounds really weird, but then they bond to you. So like they're bonded
Right.
to Holden, so he can, pet him and hold him, and they'll jump from their cage to him. But like if I were to go in and be like, "Hey guys, what's up?" They go, I can't even do it. They're like, like they
yeah,
get
that's
really
what it sounds
nervous and scared.
Well, okay, hold on. Before we continue with this is the epitome of the King family.
Okay, why?
John joined the Instagram live, right?
Johnny?
Yes. And he doesn't have school, correct?
Right.
So
No,
that's
it's
good.
school.
Yes, that's cool.
He
watching
joins
your
the
brother?
chat and he says, Harrison, ask mom and dad if they bought chips from ClickList.
I have tons of chips from the hockey TV at my house. Does he want to go grab a bag?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, right up to Sandy's house and grab some chips.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me answer. It's possible she bought chips. Where's your brother? And he's still alive.
They're in the basement on the pantry shelves if they're anywhere, Johnny King. So there you have it.
Wouldn't hurt you to go, I don't know, maybe walk downstairs and
And
go look
look,
for
that's
him.
hilarious. That is totally.
Go get your brother's
Our
attention
children.
above the roar of the
Yeah.
carpet dryers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. So yeah, chinchillas. That would be my answer to him. I
Chinchillas.
mean,
sugar
sugar
gliders.
gliders, not chinchillas. Yes. Yeah, I've enjoyed them. They're very
Yeah, I
cool.
think it's been a fun. I was really skeptical at first because just because, but Holden's done a fantastic job of taking care of them and maintaining the cage and spending time with them and stuff. So it's been fun.
Chinchilla you're gonna have to spend less time with. So if you don't want like to have to, because they don't like to be they want attention. So
Right.
they will self-mutilate and do things like if they're not getting proper attention. So like if you're not going to spend time with them, if you just want somebody to look at, then chinchilla is your way to go.
Right.
I don't need any rodent drama.
On top of your dog drama, come on.
No, I don't. No. Nocturnal doesn't scare me because my boys are nocturnal.
Yes.
Right.
So
That's why Holden said, he was like, that doesn't bother me a bit. I'll be up late and da-da-da. But
It's shocking how little sleep they can go on at that age, and I'm sure that I did at that age too. I just can't imagine coming in at 2 and then going for a run at 8, and then But then again, when you don't have the response, when you're what you're responsible for is very narrow, and I'm
Yes.
sure it's real easy to concentrate. So
Well, Sandy, it's been an absolute joy having you on the podcast. One of the things that we always ask everybody at the end of the podcast is if you could give yourself a piece of advice as a 20-year-old.
If you could speak to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
What would you tell them?
Okay, I've thought about this, reflected back in now in real estate. Don't look at that college experience or where you land right out of college as what you're going to be. Look at it as where are you going to start?
Oh, I like that.
And
That's really good.
and kind of know that you're going to have these experiences and these journeys that you're going to continue to evolve and hopefully forever into what you're supposed to be. And I think looking back, and I look at, because of where I'm in life with kids going to college, it's like, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? And my advice to you is, where do you want to start and what problems do you want to solve? And with that said, and if you continue to think that way, you will leave yourself open to the experiences that come your way and evolve and continue to find the things you like. And I think with what we've talked about me today, I'm an example of that.
Yeah. No, that's a really great way of thinking
good.
about it. To make your brain, to draw attention to that aspect of it. Because it is all just a recipe. Like, it's just parts of the recipe. Like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily that's not where you're going to end up.
Right.
Because
I think they put so much pressure on themselves because they're thinking, that's where I'm going to be. That's where I'm going to end up. That's what I'm going to be doing. And instead of thinking, this is where I'm starting. I like that. That's really cool.
I think, too, especially in today's world, I think things are only going to get faster. And to the extent you can be malleable and nimble and how you can adjust to different paradigms, different technologies, different whatever that the world throws at you, I think that can only help your success. And I mean, I think it's really hard for a 22-year-old. I remember, even myself, it's really hard to think, I don't have a whole lot of life experience, yet I'm basing everything I'm doing right now on what I'm going to do for the next 30 years. And the world's going to change, and your tastes are going to change, and you will get to a point you're like, I don't really dig this anymore. I liked it for 10 years, but I'm kind of like, I want to move on and do something else. And that's okay. Is to say it's fine to do that. Those experiences simply prepared you for this next, like you say, season. And that's cool. And I mean, and embrace that and always be, on the lookout for those things that can satisfy you, that continue to make you feel, like you're doing the right thing. So.
Well, thank you very much again for hanging out with us today and spending time with us on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
We will catch everybody next time.
Wait, before you end it, you have to give her your thank you bag.
Oh, okay, yes.
Here you go.
Okay.
I have my thank you, too.
Thank you bag.
Oh, my gosh, this is awesome.
Socks,
And a
yes,
pen.
and pen. Yep, there you go.
And I brought my thank you.
Oh, pineapple.
I brought my
All right.
pineapple.
Yes. Don't they mean, they mean something, and I cannot think of the meaning behind giving a pineapple.
Maybe Sandy just likes pineapples, mother, and she's giving us.
I think I can give you a couple of reasons, Harrison.
Yeah, see?
So,
I knew
so
there
the
was a reason
pineapple
behind
is
the
part of
pineapple.
my brand
Oh, okay.
as a real estate agent. It's a rich American tradition of warmth, friendship, and hospitality.
All right.
And it's given to people as a symbol of friendship. On a personal note, you see it a lot in colonial architecture in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Right.
My mother loved colonial architecture. And my father, they collected antiques, and the first home that my parents built was a Williamsburg colonial home.
Oh, cool.
And it always reminded my sisters and I of the pineapple of my mother. Now, my story is, lost my mother in my 20s, very, very young. Mm-hmm. And when I went to build this business, for two reasons. One, what it truly means, and then two, my personal experience, I picked the pineapple just from a sense of having her with me and having that kind of that person in your life that always gave you confidence. It was just fun to bring her along on a journey.
Yes,
so
that's so
awesome.
cool.
that when you see my pineapple everywhere, that's kind of the story behind it.
I love it. That's
That's a
a
good
great
story.
story. And what a great thing to pick. That was
I know, right?
very thoughtful.
Who doesn't like
for your
pineapple?
branding? I think that's just, that's very cool.
It's awesome.
Well, and the sugar gliders, will they eat it?
Sugar gliders will eat dried pineapple. Yes, they will.
Okay.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Pineapple for everyone. All right, everybody. We'll see you next podcast next Monday. Don't forget to check out the merch store, asvcmerch.com. Don't forget to listen to us on iTunes, Spotify,
Google
Podcasts, and the Facebook channel. Thanks again. I'm Emily King,
I'm Richie King.
Sandy Ginn.
and we'll see you next time.
We're out.